to an end here today. Can you explain kind of your emotions right now?
Well, for me, they're kind of all over the place, I guess. I guess a little sense of relief that it's finally come to an end, but also, you know, it's something that'll never go away from me. So I'm glad that he's put away, but it's still something I'll have to live with every day.
It's an overwhelming feeling. Just like Lindsay said, I feel relieved, but it's every day that we deal with this together.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth, everyone knows the truth of what happened to us, and I think that's what's most important to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now we can move on completely.
Lindsay, Jess, what did you make of what Victor Barnard said today?
Very, very hard to explain. He still, in the end, is acting like he cares about us, which he doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
which is very clear to us, and he is sticking to having God on his side, and I think we've seen that that's not
Yeah, it made me
the
sick
case.
when, like physically sick when he opened up and said, God is good. Like, how could he hear what we just went through and still say God is good? You know, like, it just shows how delusional he really is.
There's nothing good about what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think he took this deal of 30 years? He may just do 20. Why do you think he took this deal rather than go to trial? Objectively, there seems to be nothing in it for him. Why do you think he really took this deal?
I think he wants to cover himself
Yeah.
and his followers. And if we went to trial, I mean, every detail, every account, everything that we remember would be put into record and be public, not just for us, but for him.
Right.
And for him to say, you know, that he's trying to spare us the pain of a trial, you know, I mean, we prepared for that. We were ready to do that. We were definitely gonna go ahead with that. And so for him to say that he's doing it to spare us is not, it's very cowardly. It's offensive, because we are completely prepared and want our story to be told and want the truth of what happened. And I don't think he wants that. I think it's enough for him to say that he did what he did, but he doesn't want the details told. I don't know whether he just doesn't want to face it or he doesn't want anyone else to face it.
You both talked about the different lows that you've gone through with everything, but Lindsay also said, I know now that I'm strong. How great is this feeling today, feeling that sense of power?
It's great. It's hard to remember at times, honestly, you know, but I've had a wonderful therapist, and he's helped me stay grounded and to remember that Jess and I really, we were the two youngest of the maidens, and we're the ones that put him in prison for 30 years. And if that, doesn't give someone power, then, I don't know what will, but.
And we've had each other to remind each other that we're strong, we're survivors.
Yeah.
We have had incredible families that have helped us.
Yeah.
So you have a support system then, Lindsay and Jess?
We have
Yes,
an
we do.
amazing support system.
Yeah.
We have had our families, our friends, we've had people who have come into our lives. Luann, Jeff Nelson, the sheriff at Pine County, Matt Ludwig, who first helped us, the first person that we talked to and listened to us. So we've had a lot of support.
How many maidens are there still? And do you believe there are other victims who are members of the maidens? And do you have any sense of how big the River Road Fellowship is now, and whether Victor has followers?
Well,
It's hard to say.
there were 8 after we left, but.
As of right now, we only know of 3 out of the maidens that are standing, or 4 that are standing by him, including Christina.
Yeah.
But it's hard to say. We don't really have much contact with them. We don't talk to them. They have chosen not to speak with us, which is hard for us it's sad. We love them and
It's hard, they were our only family for all those years, and we did everything together, you know?
and doing what we did coming forward was hard for us, but it wasn't just for us, it was for them too.
Mhm.
Because if every one of them, or even some of them, are victims of the same crime,
Mhm.
at least they know, you know, if they weren't brave enough to stand up for themselves, we stood up for them.
Mhm.
When you were little girls, was there ever anybody who supported you? Did you ever think that you would have somebody that would help you?
If we told what had happened?
Yes.
No. No.
No, we were repeatedly told that we would be punished or that our lives would be terrible because of it.
Yeah.
One of the things you said that has kind of struck me is that these were also the people in this group were really the people you love,
Mhm.
and they were your family. If you had anything to say to them today, who may still be followers or not, what, would you say anything?
That's hard.
Yeah, that is
There's a
hard.
lot I would wanna say to a lot of people, but it's hard to know what to say in concise words. There's still a lot of people that we love, regardless of anything that happened, but there's a lot of sadness for what did happen.
Mhm. Yeah, like Jess said, it's hard. It would be hard to know exactly what to say to them. I don't know, I just hope that one day they realize what really happened and who Victor really is, and
He's not the man that he
Right.
portrays himself to be, even
Mhm.
still today.
that those who have left, you know, can realize and get the help they need, 'cause I know when Jess and I really realized what happened, we needed a lot of help and support, and I just hope that they, you know, if they realize that they are able to get the same.
Do you believe he still wants to lead people from prison?
I would say
Yeah, I would
probably.
think so.
I don't think he's ever gonna stop trying to orchestrate
Mhm.
things from wherever he is, and you know, he has people that he can work through and send directives through. I don't think he's ever gonna give that up. That's kind
Yeah, I
of the
think-
person he is.
I think he still believes he is representing Christ in the flesh and an apostle, and wants to, even though he's in prison, still lead what church he has left.
Do you think he sees himself as a martyr?
He probably thinks he is.
Mhm.
But I don't see him that way.
What's next for you both?
Moving on with our lives
Yeah.
completely,
Mhm. Yeah.
taking care of each other and our families.
Mhm. Yeah. Mhm.
Not to pry, because you've given a lot of your life through this, but I can't help but ask about your parents and whether there's any contact anymore, and if you think that they still are believers in Victor Barnard.
There isn't any, and I don't think there ever will be for either of us.
Yeah, yeah, there's no contact.
They should have been there for us, and they weren't, and they've shut the door on both of us. Both of our parents have, and I don't think that anything can ever be mended.
Yeah, I mean, they made their choice, you know, when I was 13, so now they have to live with what happened, so.
And mine disowned me, so I don't have any desire to reconnect with them. Like Lindsay said, they made their choice to stand by him, and whether they still do or not doesn't matter or affect me.
Yeah.
We've got enough family members and support from people. We don't need them.
I have a question for Attorney Frederickson. Is it possible for Barnard to petition for early release?
It is not. He's, the absolute minimum is stated by law, so there's no way he can petition for
minimum is 20 years,
Right, that's with good time.
with good time. And with time served, it could be 17 plus.
It could, there's the wrinkle too, though, that he has to comply with, sex offender treatment, with assessments, and if he's denying that he is a sex offender or he's got an issue, he could potentially serve that full 30 years, which I think would be the likely outcome in this case.
And has he denied that?
My understanding is that is the case.
That he has denied, and that's why he did not, because you waived the pre-sex investigation, right?
That's correct, yes.
But so where does that information that he denies he's a sex offender, where does that come from?
I would divert that question to his attorney.
Okay. All right.
If, when they come up for release, say if he comes up for release in 20 years, can witnesses come in and testify not to release him early?
No, unfortunately, no, and that's all dictated by Minnesota law. There's actually a statute that says he gets a day of credit for 2 days in.
But if we still have a predatory sex offender law, a civil commitment process,
Correct.
if we do in 17 years, which is a bit of an unknown, he could perhaps, you could petition, he could perhaps do the psychosexual evaluation then, and
Oh.
you could still civilly commit.
Absolutely, and if you noted that, one of the last things that the court pronounced was that he felt that he qualified for that SDP commitment. And so that's something that whoever's in my shoes in 17 years or 30 years or however long it is, could bring forth that civil commitment.
Let's assume you really like this job. Would you go for that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Reese, why did he take this deal? It doesn't, if you were looking as his defense counsel, and we heard what they said about why he did it, why do you think he took this deal?
Reese, would you mind?
Yeah.
Can you pull a chair up or something? Thanks.
Well, I believe he took this deal because he was facing an airtight case. As Lindsay and Jess had pointed out, all this information would have been public. And what the court sees, what you sees, or what you've seen is actually just the tip of the iceberg. This is a massive case, involves many years, involves a system, a cult basically, of thought reform techniques that occurred over a span even since the 1980s. So this would have been, I anticipated a 6-week trial. We even had an expert witness lined up for the trial. I think that all that information would have been damaging to him. And my guess is he's a bit of a narcissist, he's got an ego. He didn't want to see that information out in the press.
How many victims do you believe, since you were about to take this case to trial, how many victims do you believe there were? And I ask not only juvenile victims, but he has reportedly had sex with married women as well. So I imagine you've got a count. What's the count on him?
I would guess, I'd say a conservative estimate, I'd guess 24. But again, we don't have a case unless a victim comes forward, and only 2 were brave enough to come forward, 2 very strong people.
How many juveniles among those 24s would you suspect?
I believe there were, 10 maidens, and then there was a second group of maidens, 8, 7, so potentially 17.
17 out of 24. I know it's water under the bridge a little bit here, but can you talk about why the man who held the job before you, why he declined to file charges? And he viewed it as a he said, she said, and which we hear a lot in sexual assault cases. Oh, it's he said, she said. We don't think we can get a conviction. You obviously saw this differently. What happened?
I could only speculate on that.
Go ahead.
I think that's kind of an old school way of looking at things as a he said, she said. Things have evolved, especially with crim sex cases, with domestic cases. Personally, I've for the most part outlawed that term. It actually makes me cringe when you say it, he said, she said. But I think there was a system breakdown, and the case was in the office in 2012. I think the person that was handling it did not appropriately present it and had a view of it which did not look at the strengths of the case, which were overwhelming. So it was a surprise that it was not charged for that period of time.